And welcome to Clickteam Fusion tutorial brought to you by GameCreation.co.uk. So today we are looking at creating a 2D RPG like Zelda or Pokemon. Enjoy! And welcome to the Clickteam tutorial. So I haven't made one in a while. As all of you who have seen my previous tutorials know, I do all of this live, so you see all the mistakes as well as the victories. So we're going to be creating stuff together. I've been using Clickteam Fusion, well, Click and Play and all of the other ones that have been called for a very long time. However, there is no one who's an expert, maybe apart from the creators themselves. So if you have any better ideas or better way of doing things, please do comment. Or always read the comments. So let's get started first of all. Now I'm going to show you what I normally do later on. I'm just going to show you what I used to do, which isn't very powerful, and we'll see why it's not very powerful in a second. So let's get started. So if you haven't already done, open Clickteam Fusion and click File and New, and then double click on the level editor, which is this one here. So if I click on Run Application straight away, then you can see there's nothing on it. Now for our RPG we want a nice background, so there's different ways of doing it. If I double click and let's just go quick backdrop, and let's just stretch this out. If I click on it twice, don't double click, click on it like once and then another time like that, and it brings up the arrows there. There we go. Okay, so it's grey. We don't necessarily want grey. We want a nice green colour. So if I go here, click green. Yours might be below. I've switched these around the other way. So if you drag these, then you can move them to where you want them to be. I prefer this being on top, and you can drag this down like that. So if yours is down here, that's fine. The grass isn't that convincing, so we want to make the grass a bit more convincing. So I'm going to go to a website called onsprite.com, which is one that I've created to help me with this exact thing we're about to do. If I click on this, and it comes up with a nice grass tile, and I can copy that. But it's just as easy to make my own. So if I click on Launch Tile Creator, and I'm going to pick a green, any green I want. And I'm going to go to the paint bucket tool, and if I move the shade and tint, it will randomly sprue some shades and tints within it. If I look on the right, it shows what it will look like tiled, and this is the bit you edit here. If I click on if I click on shaded, none shaded, so target none shaded, then I can keep clicking until I'm happy with the way it looks. It looks alright at the moment. And so what I'm going to do is go to the image at the bottom right and just click copy. You might need to save it. And if I go back to Clickteam, and if I click on that, now instead of solid color, I want to use the image I've just made. So if I go to motive and then edit, and if I press Ctrl and A, it will highlight everything and then delete, we'll delete it. Then I want to press Ctrl and V to paste it, or you can just click on paste there. And yes, you want to enlarge the canvas, click OK. And there we go, we've got a lovely backdrop there. Now the problem with that backdrop is, what if I want, I don't know, some water or something? Well, I could do this again and just put the water on top. So let's have a look at that. So if I go to, I'll open a new tab, and if I go to water, let's just use the one I've created on the site, and I could do quick backdrop. And this time I'm going to motif, Ctrl and A delete, Ctrl and V, yes I do. And I can put some water in like that. I can drag this out, and what this quick backdrop does, it automatically tiles it for you. So when you enlarge it, it doesn't make it bigger and gets all pixelated, it just enlarges it for you. And that's fine. But with these types of games, no one ever does this. No one ever just clicks and drags quick backgrounds. What they do is they create it programmatically. So I want really my game to look like this at the start, completely blank. and I want it to populate the tiles programmatically. So when you go to a new level, you don't actually have to create a new level. Does that make sense? So what you can do is you can store where you want all the tiles in an array, and just create open a different array for a different level. So the level will still be this level here, so frame 1 for instance. Okay, so this is the bad way of doing it. So you might ask me, well, okay, what's the best way of doing it? Well, let's do that now. So if I double click and I'm going to create an active, although you could do this with a backdrop. Let's try it with a backdrop. Why not? Now, a backdrop is almost identical to an active, apart from the fact that, so if I just do this now quickly, so I have my C in there. If you drag them, it does the same as an active, so I'm going to press Ctrl and Z to undo that. So you can't tile them that easily with a backdrop, but it's the same as an active apart from the fact that you can't move. So you can't create, once you put this down, you either destroy it or whatever. It uses up a lot less memory than an active, so if you want to create lots of different things in the background but you don't need them to interact at all with anything, to move or have collision detection or anything else, then do them as backdrops. But I very rarely use backdrops. I normally use actives. I think that nowadays the memory leakage is not as bad unless you're making a massive game. So I'm going to do this with actives. So I'm going to delete that, go to active, double click, and I'm going to press Ctrl and A, delete, then Ctrl and V, put my water in. So that's my water. And let's do the same with the grass. So I'm going to go back, copy this grass again. I could have just copied it from there. I'm going to delete these ones, and I'm going to double click active. Same thing again, double click on that, Ctrl and A, delete, Ctrl and V. Sorted. Okay. Now, one of the problems we've got here, before we get to how to create the tiles, is that these are two different things. Yeah, actually they're basically the same thing. You're either going to have grass or you're going to have water. So what we might want to do is put them into one active. Now you might think, well, how can you put them into one active? Clickteam Fusion doesn't have support for actives holding more than one image. Well, actually it does. So if I go into that, Ctrl A and Ctrl C to copy it. If I go into the grass, I'm going to move this so it's loads of directions, and I'm going to go to where it says 1, and then I'm just going to paste in Ctrl and V my C. Okay, this might seem really odd that we're creating directions for the backdrop, but bear with me on this. So I can delete that now. So this actually stores the grass and the water in, okay, which is kind of strange, okay, but again, bear with me. So we'll be using that later on, but this one piece of grass is not covering anything. So the old me would have done this. So if I double click on it and make sure it's action point, and why not, it's hotspot as well in the top left, just makes things easier because then I can do position 0, 0. There we go, so it puts it right in the top left. So if you click on it and wonder why position 0, 0 is not where it is, well, if I double click on it and show you, if I move the hotspot there, then it views that hotspot as the 0 coordinate. Okay, so if I double click it again, move the hotspot back to the top left, it will treat the 0 coordinate as there. So when I position it 0, 0, it will put it at the top left. So what I could do is right click on it, duplicate. Duplicate makes, well, I'll show you in a second. If I duplicate and I put in, I don't know, 10 columns and 8 rows, is that going to be enough? There we are, it's covered the whole thing. Okay, now because I clicked on duplicate, if I go back to on sprite, and I want some artifacts in there, so I'm going to put a few artifacts in there. Artifacts, just bits of rubbish in the grass, and it just makes it seem a bit more grass-like, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. You want to avoid putting them all in the middle, so so that it looks like they flow naturally. Okay, let me put some red in there as well. Red and berries and rubbish. You can do all this all day, but anyway. Okay, let's copy that now. Let's go back. Oh, let's go back. If I double click on one of them and then Control A and delete, and then Control V again, then it will update all of them because they're duplicated. So if I click OK, they've all got that new updated sort of rubbishy look. Okay, and grass normally has bits of different weeds in it and things like that, so that's not a bad idea to do that. Okay, now I could do this, but again I've said that there's an advantage to do this programmatically so that we can create new levels, etc. from a file rather than having to sit here and create tile by tile. Okay, there's also no C in there, so what I could do is I could replace that for my C tile, but then it gets just as complicated as before. Okay, so I want to delete all these. I want a better way of doing this, so I'm just going to go through and delete all but one of them because I actually want to keep one of them. Okay, and I'm going to push this to the side. So we want a better way of doing that. So if I go into my event editor and I'll right click on a new condition, or click on a new condition, and I'm going to say at the start, okay, I want to start a loop, fast loop, start fast loop, okay, and I'm going to call this create tile X. Okay, let's copy that. And how many do I want? I've forgotten how many I had. I'm going to say 10. Okay, and right click new condition on loop. Oh, create tile X. And what I'm going to do is create my active 2s. I don't actually care what position it is. I'm just going to put it 0, 0, because as soon as it's created, I'm going to reposition it. So I'm going to set the X coordinate as, oh, I'm going to get what loop index is, fast loop get loop index of the loop that I'm doing. And this keyboard's rubbish, there we go. Oh my goodness, this keyboard's doing my head in. So let's delete all those. Okay, so what happens when I fire that off, it will do create tile X 10 times because I've told it to. Each time the loop index will go up by 1. So on our first loop, you'd think it would be 1. On our first loop, the loop index is 0. Okay, it always starts at 0. So I want to position it 0 times the width. So if I go to position width of the tile, okay. So at the first loop, it will have a X coordinate of 0. Then at the next one, it will have an X coordinate of 1 times the width of the tile. Let's click OK. And let's run the application. And you can see here, it's created all the tiles going across, which is great. This is what we wanted. It might have done too many, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Ah, perfect. Okay, so it's 10 tiles there. Okay, the problem is we want them going downwards as well. So if instead of doing that, I then do the same thing, but go downwards, so create tile Y, and we'll copy that. And I think it was only 8 times I needed for that. And then drag this across, but instead of create tile X, I want to create tile Y. And I love this keyboard. Okay, so we're going to start off by doing create tile X 10 times, which we've seen what will happen. It will create 10 tiles at the top. But instead of creating 10 tiles at the top, we want it to go down 8 times and create the tiles going downwards. Okay, so we're going to create the tile on the Y loop, and we're not only going to set the X coordinate, which is what we still want, but we're also going to set the Y coordinate. Okay, so if I go to position and set Y coordinate. This time the fast loop index we want is for the Y, and I'm going to be patient this time because my keyboard takes forever to work at the moment. Okay, patience over. I'll just manually type it. I think it will do it in a second, I'm sure. There we go. Okay, and I'm going to times it by the height of the tile, which I know is the same, but if I change the height of the tile for some weird reason later on, then it would work just as well. Let's run application. So when it starts a frame, it fires this create tile X 10 times. So on the first time it's putting the tile here, but on the first time it fires this create tile Y 8 times. So it fires it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then it goes on to the next create tile X, so it starts here this time because it's shifted it across one lot of the tile's width. So the next tile goes here, and then shifts the next one down as it goes, loops through the create tile Y. Now you might think this is a lot of effort for doing basically the same thing as I did before. However, there's different ways of doing it. There's different things you can do now. So if I want to do direction, and I'm going to select the direction of it, but I'm going to calculate it, and I'm going to pick a random number within the range of 0 to 1. What do you think is going to happen? So if I click run application, we've got some weird things going on. Okay, so I know what's happened there. So if I go back, it's the hotspot on the C tile. I want to put that to the top left, and in fact I want to put both of them to the top left. Okay, let's run again. And I have a random sea stroke grass map. So if I use this tool here to just do it again, then it comes up completely randomly, which is kind of cool if you wanted to make a civilization game or game like that. Okay. I don't want it to be completely random because, well, maybe I do. There's enough random dungeon stuff out there that maybe you do want to make it random. But sometimes there's a story of the game, and the story doesn't work if there's a sea tiles all around you at your start. You need to follow the story. So, in the next video we'll see about how I create an array, a data file that stores where all of these tiles should be in. So, at the moment we're early days with this, and we probably have quite a long way of going, but we've found a way of creating the tiles for the game. So we'll need to be able to create the character, we need to be able to move the character, we need to be able to interact with other characters, we need buildings and caves and trees, places the character can't go past, because if you can go everywhere at the start of the Zelda game, it's a bit of a boring game. So you need restrictions, but then the restrictions might be able to be lifted later on when the character gets a new item or axe or something. Okay, so thank you very much for watching. If you want to see more, if you want to see episode 2 of this tutorial, and we'll start developing the game a little bit more, then please click subscribe or click like on this video. Thank you very much.